Welcome to episode number 9 of The Roar, the show for all things Hershey Cubs, players, coaches, personnel, and news. I'm Clay Thomas, alongside Joshua Gerhardt, your hosts and broadcasters for the Cubs. With us today is Cubs assistant head coach Brady Boudreau. Thanks for joining us, man, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome on. We're happy to have you. One of the assistant coaches here for the Cubs. So, Clay, you want to start us off here then?
It's a pleasure to have you here, Brady. It's been a long time coming. Wanted to wait till we got another coach on till we got some more trial and errors with the games going on here in the Cubs amidst, man, a 12-game winning streak. Another franchise record every single game that they've won since it was, I believe, 5 or 6. So that's pretty awesome into the third season. And so just tell me, from a coach's perspective, what's the vibes on the bench in the locker room and amongst the coaches as your team is on a freaking roll right now, man?
It's a twofold feeling because obviously we're very happy we're winning. Long stretch. We're doing good. We're getting the job done. But at the other hand, the part of me that's the coach is like, okay, we have the winning streak, but we still have stuff we have to work on. So it's that right balance of not getting too hard and down on them, but also not being satisfied that, yeah, we got the win, but we want to win at a certain standard, at a certain level, especially for down the road.
Right. And
You
especially
know,
at that showcase where you guys had to face teams you're
yeah.
not going to face again until maybe at the end of the year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of ice time and like real on ice scouting, but more or less you got to watch a lot of film. So what's it like for a coach's process to go from, you know, playing a team that you normally face or you've seen before compared to going into a showcase?
Showcases are interesting, more so because of how many games you play. It's usually 4 and 3, but it's also, like you said, most of the time our opponents are teams we haven't played before and probably won't play again. So a lot of it is just trying to get a rough sketch. We might do a little bit of pre-scouting, but it's very minimal compared to a normal weekend. And you also just don't know what the schedule is going to be. In just one term, for us, like we had 4 games and we had all 3 of our goalies that were healthy play. And that's just, you don't know what goal you're going to get, just like you don't know what forward line you're going to get deep hair. So it's all, there's a lot of hypotheticals, which is where we just try and keep it simple and focus more on our game versus theirs. So, the players did a great job battling and playing, and definitely some things that, they had to pick up on the fly. But a lot of it is just trying to keep it simple and not overcomplicate them.
Would you say the level of competition you faced over in that Detroit showcase is a lot more difficult than what you've seen recently? You've had a lot of great wins against, the Brooklyn Aviators Club. So talk about the level of competition you were able to face, come on top in that showcase.
We faced a good variety of competition at the showcase. Obviously, the Blue Hawks know very well, having come from there before this. I knew they were going to be the best team we played that weekend. And, Chicago Crush, I knew they were going to be a tough game as well. Those are teams that I knew we had to play well and battle to have a chance to win. Decatur and Battle Creek, I knew they weren't going to be walks in the park either, but we got them taken care of as well. So, we had a schedule where it was tough. There's definitely some teams there that would have been a lot tougher to play in the Metros and Toledos. No knocks against the teams we played, but they are also teams I know that are heavyweights for a good reason. So the competition's good. It's a good showcase. We like the competition, which is why we went back again this year.
And then, you have 2 huge wins, by double-digit points against the Brooklyn Aviators. How were you guys able to stay focused, but most importantly, kind of come on top of all the chippiness and the scrumminess in those 2 games? Me and Clay saw it happen all the time.
Well, we played well. We got the goals, but I think the one thing we all could admit we could do better on is defensively. I thought we could have played a lot better. We let in more goals than we'd like to, and it wasn't the goalie's fault. Didi played well. He was left out to dry in a lot of those opportunities, and he made some great saves. So it's things like that where the game is getting out of hand. You just have to find other objectives where it's not just score based. Like, all right, like the second game, we made it more of a defensive goals, and unfortunately, we didn't reach it. But at times like that, you just got to find something else to focus on or hone in just to when something else is just getting out of hand like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me one thing though. How often do you see a goal happen where it's just an errant pass that ricochets off somebody from the other circle, let alone, right in front of the paint? But that shot was that the pass off that went off of Graney's body was like at least 25 feet away.
That's the first time I've ever seen a goal like that in my life. I've seen some weird ones, but that definitely that kind of bounce was very that'd be hard to replicate.
Speaking of Graney, he's been on a tear right now individually himself as well. As his coach, can you speak to the level of, excellence he's been playing at recently?
Uh, well, first off, he's one of the smartest players with the puck I've ever seen. Having coached for a bit, I mean, he's not very big. He's strong, but
No.
he's not. He's a little guy for some of the size he's going against. But he just has great vision with it, and just seems to know what to do. Like Patrick Kane or Boudreau, he's like a water bug at times. You can't touch him, and he's just lately he's been clicking. He's been on a line with Ryan and Taffy, and those three have been clicking. They work well together, and he's just sort of finding a rhythm. I think the biggest thing with him is he is so smart, but sometimes the players he plays with, it's not that they're dumb, but he is just so smart. Sometimes he has to simplify it for himself because it's like it might make so much sense to you, but to them, they're just, he has to dumb it for his standards.
Yeah.
So, but he's, just on a tear and he's just finding the soft spots, and hopefully we can keep him going on that pace.
And Clay, we have seen the depth with every lineup, but you just mentioned that line with Graney, Taffo, and Ryan. That night, that lineup has seemed to produce, day in and night out. So, what's the kind of chemistry that you're seeing between lines? Because you guys are so full of depth right now.
Well, I think the good news and the strength of our team is that for the most part, we have a good chemistry among our lines. Really, Graney, Tafo, Ryan, I think that's really the full only line that we kept as a whole as like that trio. We might have other lines, but we still are like, okay, like two or three, it might be two guys play well together, but we know we can interchange this guy. And it's more just seeing who fits and who doesn't. That's where the first part of the season, some guys you think are going to go well together and they don't. And then other guys are like, they work a lot better. So it's just, at times it's trial and error. That one we're fortunate we found early. As we get closer to the end, we will probably find the lines that we'll be more consistent with, just like power play and PK. But, our guys are very talented and skilled and they're good, and that makes it easier to try and mismatch and try and find the perfect combination.
And I know that line itself has been a second line as well. We've seen that before, like in the overall game plan and depth chart and on the play call sheet or the call sheets and everything. But between you and Coach Thompson, between him being the head coach and you being the assistant head coach, how do you guys work together to figure out what the game plan is? Who you're going to mix and match to put out onto the ice and in certain situations in crunch time or including like power plays?
It's not too complicated. I mean, Brennan he controls the forwards, I do the D, and it's just simple like that. He runs the forward on during the game, I run the D, so it's just pretty simple. D pairs, I just put them together, and for the most part, it's just sometimes we'll just ask each other a question like, "What do you think about this guy?" just for a second opinion. But usually not too much. I mean, sometimes there might be a bit of a feel where it's like, hey, this guy I feel like is buzzing. Let's try and put him here or that. But for the most part, it's just we, having worked so long together, we just trust each other and our judgment, and so far it's been working. So nothing too complicated there.
What has impressed you most about the defensive play so far this season? Is there any individual that stood out to you the most so far this season?
The D have been growing a lot since the beginning of the season. I mean, they're all pretty. The one thing is they are pretty good offensively in transitioning the puck and like moving, whether it's shooting or creating, uh, creating shots or creating passes. I mean, all of them I have good stuff to say about. I mean, obviously, I think the one guy I want to give a shout out more so because he's not an offensive guy, but Colin Lakaitis is, I think, our most
Yep.
responsible defensive guy, like shut down like he's a guy I go to. And he got his first goal the other
Yep.
day, which, big, but I know his big presence is defensively, very smooth there. Uh, Saint Laurent has been, great his first year, pretty good on the power play, distributing it. And his D partner is Nick Zane, who, he has really grown leaps and bounds and always wants to get better. You know, Couture had a great start. He's working hard. He, block shots real well. Evan Singer, he's a guy who is just pretty consistent, pretty level. Guys look to him in the locker room. Maggio has been a guy that great pickup for us. He's very smart, very intelligent. I probably think the smartest all-around player on the team.
Mm.
And then we
Over
have
Graney.
Grady is great offensively, but like Maggio is a defenseman, and they're more thinkers because he has to. And it also helps he sees the play from the back. He's very good at reading plays defensively and then converting it to offense. Graney's light years ahead of everyone offensively, but defensively, obviously he's more human. And then we have, Emile Urbain looks good after the break. He's making strides. And then we have Alexis Gagnon, who's I think has the highest ceiling with his size and talent and skill. I think he's a guy that if we keep developing him, he'll be a scary player, scarier than he is now. And he's injured right now, but Aiden Gallagher was a pretty good guy, 200-foot player, and hopefully we can't wait to have him back after the break. I think we should be expecting him to play more.
Clay, out of all the years you've been here, I know this is kind of my first full year with the Cubs. From what I'm seeing, this is the most, full and complete team offensively and defensively. I mean, what is your opinion on that? I mean, Coach, your opinion on that as well. This team just seems like they're thriving on all levels right now.
I think the biggest thing that I've seen, and players have touched on it before, the ones that stayed, we saw it from, or excuse me, heard it from Marco and Ma. It's like that chemistry that they have together has really formed and been a big factor into it. I mean, we see it on the ice all the time. You just see them all more having fun together, as well as competing and executing everything properly to the best of their abilities. And it seems like to me this year there's more of a team aspect to it than the individual play. I mean, you're gonna have your guys, your Cook and your Grannies who can make something happen by themselves. We see it all the time, whether they're gonna at least get pucks on net or find the back of the net. But then last year it was just everybody it felt like was trying to get their own name out there and show out their own play instead of working together as a unit. That's where I've kind of noticed the big part.
Yeah, Coach, your thoughts on that?
I think the one thing I'll say that helps a lot is this year we started with a pretty deep and full roster, both in terms of just quantity of players, but also the quality. Because I think in years past, we've had the talent, but I don't think we had the depth to sustain it. And I think with the depth we have now, if guys hit a rough patch or, before, if a guy was just not performing to expectations or not doing the little things right, he sort of had to play by default because not many other guys could replace him. Whereas this year, I think they're more accountable because they know there are guys that are ready to step in. And most of the time when guys are scratched, it's not because they did something wrong. It's just more because, other guys are getting their chance and opportunity. So I think that makes them more driven and keeps them more team focused and oriented. But, on going with that as well, I think talent wise, we just great crop of players this year. Hopefully we can just keep building off that talent, developing them and just signing better players. So it also helps to have a good start because winning definitely reinforces the good habits.
Everybody's always. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
No, go ahead, Clay. Go ahead, Clay.
Everybody's always happy when they're winning. So
yeah,
winning is a great formula for success in general, and or enforcing that chemistry and that happiness as well. But one thing that you did mention about you are the coach, not the coach, you manage more of the defensive lines and everything, and that makes sense considering you were a goalie in your playing days. And I just wanted to ask, how was that? You played for the Blue Ox in your past, and what was that experience like? And then moving on to coaching as well as, running your own hockey schools while being a player.
So, yeah, I was a goalie, and it's interesting sort of career to say I had, because I played 4 years, but I played 3 different teams, played in 2 different leagues. So I played both elite and premier at this level, played for an established team. I played for a team that moved, and I played for an expansion team. So I definitely had a bit more experiences with all that. But, you know, my first 2 years were rough. First year I played a bit, but our team wasn't very good. Second year I was a third string goalie. So that year, even though it was a toughest year because I only got in 5 games, started 3 of them, it made me really appreciate practice and take practice a lot more seriously. I got a lot better at that. Then my last 2 years, obviously, we had a good team. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was never a great goalie. I wasn't horrible, but I knew I wasn't going to, I wasn't an all-star by any means, but I felt like a liability. But towards the end, for a longest time, I thought I might just play a year or two a really low-level pro, but just never was a guy who worked out or dieted well. And it was just becoming more, it felt my last year has felt like, yeah, this feels like it's just time. I was ready to move on to the next stage. And then becoming a coach. It's funny, that first year, I just coached the team I just played on. So not only is it my first year coaching, but some of the guys are less than a year younger than me, and I played with a handful of them. But our head coach I played for the last 3 years, and I might have known maybe 1 or 2 drills that he did, because as a goalie, you can get away with not knowing any of the drills. Like, I'm just, I know I get a shot at this time and this, you get like the rhythm, but like if he was to tell me drop all the drills or drop all the systems, I would have been in trouble. And I still maybe only remember a handful of drills there. So it's sort of funny because it's like learning the game all over again. And when I started with the Blue Walks, I worked more with the forwards because it's an easier transition. And also because our coaches were defensemen. So it's just more, as a goalie, you see the game more, but the actual technique, the technical aspect of it, it's like learning it all over again. It seems like it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And it's stuff that they might have known for 10 years. So it's definitely a bit of an interesting perspective there. Thankfully, I've had some good teachers, some players and coaches just give me some little nuggets to go along with. Even now, there are times where I'm like, I might have to ask a player, like, okay, does this make sense what I'm trying to tell you? Like, is this actually something applicable, or am this just a goalie who's speaking out with nothing in mind? So it's, interesting transition nonetheless, but I definitely enjoyed it and loved it.
And as you go through that transition and everything, and obviously you have nobody better than your own father to learn about how to coach and everything like that. I'm sorry if you don't want to bring it up, but it's being a Boudreau, you got to bring it up with the Cubs.
You got the last name, man. You got the namesake.
Yeah.
You grow up with your father being a coach in the pros and everything and playing. What's that all like, getting able to learn from him directly as compared to somebody else that you played for or had to coach under or coach with?
Well, I think the biggest thing that probably is, I guess, the advantage of it is the fact that for so long, it's just, I've been exposed to his level of just talking and terminology and his view and influence of the game. Because he was very good about not babying or hiding stuff from me. Like, if I asked him a question, he would give me an answer, try and explain it to me well, for whatever 9 or 10-year-old Brady could comprehend. But I've always just been exposed to that. And he's never, he's been great about just, when I was younger, I used to go to him to practice and be in his office or in the locker room. And when I got older, he knew I liked the hockey stats, and he would just give me the, analytics for the day just so I could look and just sort of pick at it. So I've been very fortunate, and I definitely am very privileged that, my dad's been who he is. But in the same token, I also want to give credits to my brothers, because they both played bit of pro and they're both into coaching. The one is now head coach of the OHL Ice Dogs. So we're both working juniors now, which is, great. Before that, he was coaching in the ECHL. The other one's a pretty good skill coach. So it's, obviously Gabby's always going to be the first guy you go to with, how long he's been in the game and what he's seen and knows. But I also, want to give credit to my brothers, because they make it more of a family influence instead of just the one.
You mentioned the stats. I'm kind of, going back to the trip we had and the New Jersey showcase where we were sitting on the bus. I'll never forget the guys were grilling you, asking you almost every hockey stat under the book imaginable. And somehow, some way, you came up with the answer. It was almost like you were meant to be on Jeopardy, coach, or something. Tell us more about that gift of yours.
Well, first off, if you ask me a question, anything in the past year or recent, I'm gonna be bad. I know for the older it is, the better I am at trying to get it because I just like fascinated with the hockey history. I could probably tell you more guys from the first Leafs teams to win the cup than probably from the Golden Knights team winning the cup. I might be better now, but I'm just more aware of the hockey history from years and years, decades ago, because I find that era fascinating, just really interesting. Like pre-original six is, pre-expansion is pretty much an era I'm really fascinated with. Yeah, I don't know. You just study or you just read it so many times, it just becomes ingrained in your mind. The new stuff I probably would stump me on, but the older you go, I'd probably be fine.
It was just mind blowing because these guys were asking him questions and he was just spitting out answers, and I'm like, how does he know all this? I was mind blown.
Well, in my research, because you got to do that when you get somebody on a podcast, but
Yeah.
I found out that you used to write down and make your own lists. So do you still have the notepads or the books that you used to write down? Because you used to write, what I found was that you wrote all the champions and then all the ones that didn't even win it. So do you even still have those, or what was that for?
I usually have a notebook with me at all times just to write stuff down. Sometimes if I'm bored, I'll write lists, but lately it's been transitioned more to there is like an online website called Sporkle that have a lot of quizzes that I'll do.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
Yeah,
Sporkle. I was into it a lot, but then like all of a sudden it kind
yeah.
of
So I've been on Sporkle since like I was 11 because there was a game. The first one I got into is one of the most popular quizzes, and that's Countries of the World. And that sort of opened everything else up.
Oh.
And from time to time, I'll still go there and do uh like mostly sports quizzes just to test sort of my knowledge. But at times I'll just get bored and it's like, some I won't do name all the NHL teams because to me that's too easy, but it might be naming their affiliates or naming, the college programs or major junior. Like sometimes I'll get bored and just see, do I still remember all of them or whatnot? Just out of more boredom, like a boredom filler, and just to see if I remember it because I just like the trivia. So I don't know if I fill it to the brim like I used to in that one notebook, but I usually have a notepad or two with me in case I just want to jot something down real quick.
It was the knowledge that he had that night just really impressed me because, going into that trip, I'm like, oh, I think I know my fair share of hockey stuff. And I felt like, I was equipped. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh my goodness, I know absolutely nothing. Because Coach Boudreau's out shooting out every possible answer you could possibly imagine. And he's going back all the way to like the 40s and the 30s. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like,
I think of the Mickey Mantle quote where it's like, it's amazing how much you don't know about the sport you played your entire life. I mean, the more you know, the more you don't know.
exactly.
It's there's so much that I'm still trying to learn, especially recent, but just some of the odd things over the years, like, oh, so that's why, we have a backbar in the net, or that's why we have this or that. Like you learn all those little nuggets where it makes a lot more sense and you never think about it.
Coming up this weekend, we have two big games in Elmira Impact, but then looking ahead, we have obviously a huge game, Teddy Bear Toss night against the Pal Junior Islanders. So how are you preparing the team for the two big games this weekend and looking ahead? How are you kind of harnessing that energy and the excitement of Teddy Bear Toss and transitioning that to on ice play performance?
Well, we're really excited for Teddy Bear Toss, but this week our focus is just on Elmira. They've been hot of late. They're going to be a battle. They're going to be a lot better than they were in that first weekend. Those were tight neck and neck games. So, we're expecting a hell of a fight this weekend. And, we're just focusing, I've been harping on just special teams. Well, especially this weekend, I think will be the key. Whoever comes out on top of that, I bet you dollars to donuts, they'll probably win the game. And then I know PIL, they improved last year. They improved a lot more this year. I haven't really watched a lot of film on them yet, but I do know they're a team that, these next 4 games are not going to be handed to us. We got to come with our A game just to have the chance to win. But I mean, definitely you could feed up the energy, teddy bear toss night or anything like that. You just want to build off it. You don't want it to overwhelm or distract them, but you definitely can utilize it to positively.
If we had to take projections here, who we think's gonna get the first teddy bear toss goal from all three of us?
I'm trying to think. I think with the teddy bear toss game against PAL, I'm gonna go and say I think Machete's gonna get
Okay.
it. That's my guess on
Clay,
the.
who's making the teddy bears fly, Clay?
That's so tough because there's so many. I'm gonna go with a returner. I'm gonna say Marco.
Oh, I like
I think
that.
he's starting to pick it up lately, especially this past weekend. So I think he'll stay hot and bring it back and score the first one for that one.
I think the magician has some magic left for us, and he's going to make the teddy bears come out of the den and onto the ice. I'm going Carson Grady on this one.
Safe
That's
bet
all.
there.
I was gonna say that's the safest one.
I feel like
I
that
mean,
is
I chose a
that's a
player
safe
from the
bet.
same line, but that's a safe one.
It's a safe bet. Yeah, it's a safe bet.
But going back here to your own personal, I don't want to say history, but more about you. But I know that through everything that I even just found out that I didn't even realize, but or know that you were diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when you were 14 years old.
Yeah.
And what was, I just wanted to, touch on this a little bit, but what was it like, growing up before, kind of realizing it and then finding that out and then not overcoming certain aspects or challenges of that, but putting it to, a better use or figuring out how to, live with it or figure out, how to communicate or even becoming a coach as well.
It's funny because I think about it and it's like I don't even know what really to call it because I guess you might call it a disorder if you want, but it doesn't really feel that all crippling. Then again, I've had it all my life, so I haven't really known anything else. But when I found out at 14, it was honestly probably the greatest thing for me because before then I didn't know, so I just thought I was the way I'd react and just be. It was just I'd get mad at myself because I'm like, what's going on? Why can't I just be quote unquote normal? But then after that, once I found out, I had it and what it entailed, I was like, okay, like I knew I still would have some problems or difficulties, but at least I understood why. And it just, I think the way I sort of explain it to people when I talk about it is it's like you have just a real bad car and you don't know why it doesn't work. And it's, you take it in, it's like, no, your engine shot. And it's like, it doesn't take away the fact that your engine shot, but at least you know why the car is bad. So it's,
Comparison.
and more so than anything, I think it helped a lot with, close family and some friends just understanding it's like, okay, that makes a lot more sense why he's the way he is. And it's, there's obviously some moments where it's a bit overwhelming. I mean, it's really, I also feel I know I'm also pretty high functioning, pretty low on it. Like most people, unless you really try and study for the clues or signs, so to speak, you most people don't really even know or are aware of it, which is fine. It's like if someone asks, "Are you on the spectrum or have Asperger's?" I'm never gonna lie and say no, but I'm also not gonna be forthcoming with it, like in the sense of try and make it the first thing.
Yeah,
So it's a weird like sort of how do I want to say predicament, a weird sort of experience because it's like at times don't even think about it, and then there are other times I'll just do or I'll say something. I'm like, wow, that was pretty autistic. It's a weird stuff. So there are times where I am very aware of it, and it's like, do I correct it? Do I just leave it be? So, but like so far, I'm in a good place with it. I mean, I don't think there are problems where it's like because I have, I'm on the spectrum. It's just something that I've just dealt with. And thankfully, we had the resources and the tools to make it pretty, not crippling or a problem.
you know, Coach, I would like to say you're not alone. I'm also on the spectrum as well. I'm on the high functioning end of the spectrum as well. So I mean, like, kind of like you, I know my stats, I know my statistics.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's moments where you realize, oh, that just like you said, oh, that was pretty autistic.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I'll get stuck on my loops. Like, right, there's like a certain topic or a certain, conversation that I'll just have over and over and over again, where I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like I can't get off it. I'm sure you've had those moments as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like it won't even be like there's just something you want to talk about.
Yep.
Doesn't like so it won't even be something where it's like, so yeah, I think I'm just gonna have some blueberry pancakes. Like, that's blueberry pancakes. That's interesting because that makes me think of this stupid
Yeah. Like it's like tree branching. You just keep going
like
off a different
yeah,
direction.
we're like the horrible at trying to like parlay something smoothly and not just you're gonna like no, it doesn't make any sense at all. You're talking about, income tax. No, they don't want to talk about this stupid cat from like Somalia. Like, no, I'm trying to get better at sort of picking those moments, but my brain, it's like it's button mashing. Like, no, you want to talk about this? It's like, no, I do not. Like, it doesn't make sense. You're trying. It's like that pop up where you have to button mash to not do something in the game, and sometimes you just slip and it just comes out. It's like, oh no,
Oh no,
just stop. It makes no sense.
And it's funny because like now that I'm living with roommates, they've started to pick up on it as well. They'll be like, "Hey, buddy, you're looping." And like there's times where my girlfriend and her family will pick up on it and be like, "Oh, man, he's looping again." There's moments where at times I feel like I'm a little wind up toy. You know how like you used to wind them up,
Yeah,
and just keep going like a little Energizer bunny rabbit, just kind of like that.
yeah.
But this just kind of that analogy, but like. Growing up, like you mentioned, I was thankful to have a huge support system and, that kind of helped me get through it and kind of, come out the other side because there's people when I tell that to them, they're like, oh my goodness, there's no way. I'm like, well, yes, there's a way that it's true. But like, I'm thankful for, the early intervention I had, like you mentioned, the support system was huge. And my parents always told me like, be invincible, not invisible. Because a while during the early stages of my life, I felt very invisible with it, going through that. But like, now I looking back, I'm like, it's part of my journey. And without it, I don't think I'd be the same person. I'm sure you feel the same way as well.
Oh yeah. I've been very fortunate to have, the parents I did, the great, like I know people might have my condition or might have my circumstances, but it really helps just the people you have around you. Just, my parents have a good marriage relationship, healthy, there's a very little stress with my upbringing, which I know helps a lot with that. So, it's, I definitely know it's not something I've done alone. So that helps a lot.
And the whole community as itself is very supportive, like when it's a community. I mean, it's more or less a family, people rally around each other and there's no judgment, right? I mean, everybody kind of suffers with, their own side of the spectrum. So people kind of rally around it. And there's a lot of support. If you go back into the early 80s, there wasn't a lot of support and understanding about it. I mean, if you go, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the movie Rain Man at all with Tom Cruise. That was the first like documented time, autism was presented in Hollywood. And it actually brought a lot of awareness to it. And, looking to, time now, we can honestly thank that movie because it, brought a lot of awareness to the issue as a whole. So,
I mean, it's really interesting to see because I feel like the last really 10 years, you're starting to get more an idea of really just how wide the spectrum is. Because I remember when I was, young in elementary school and whatnot, I know what autism was, but it was just like the kids who were pretty severely autistic, like med ed, and that's what I thought it was. But, now you realize, okay, it's pretty wide variety here, and it's a bit different there. But my fiance, like, she's something similar where she has cerebral palsy. And when she told me that, I'm like, really? Because the only person I knew beforehand, she was in a wheelchair, couldn't walk, very limited, and she can walk on her own. She looks fine. So it's like one of those things where it's one of those disorders, conditions that you realize there's a pretty wide variance in it. So it's definitely a lot better now. I mean, it feels like seems like almost every day now. It's like, hey, do you know like his kid's autistic? It's like, wow, it seems like we're affecting a lot of people. It's like, oh, it seems like we're spreading a bit, but
the puzzle pieces are growing.
Yeah, it's like So it's like, huh, I know little Billy over there got his vaccine right there. So it's getting better. So, I mean, it's definitely a lot better than it's been, which is what you hope for anything. You just hope it's easier and not as difficult for the next group. I mean, I know my one nephew, he's been diagnosed on the spectrum, which is interesting now, but I think it's, the good thing about him is, you know, they know I'm on the spectrum, so they know it's not end of the world, or they know it's, it's going to be different. It might be difficult, some things, but it's definitely possible to live a regular life, happy life.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a big community, and the Cubs community is behind you, with you, and always will be here to support you.
Oh yeah. I definitely felt the love, appreciation. Never felt like someone has looked at me different or treated me poorly because of it, which is, I'm fortunate. I guess never been discriminated against about that, or really treated poorly because of it. So,
well, just in case you know now, there's now two of us on the team. You gotta support community now, man. You ain't the odd man out.
Like I said, it's amazing. It seems like more people are either people are aware of what to look for, comfortable saying it, but it's interesting seeing how many people are open about it now compared to even 10 years ago. It's like, wow, we're really spreading.
Well, I wish we could talk a little bit more, Coach, but thank you for joining us. That was wonderful. I mean, it's a great, to spread, I guess, ways about how we can help people, how we don't look at people differently. I mean, nobody's normal. Nobody's normal. I'm for sure not. I have my own problems. I have my own difficulties. Everybody's got something they got to deal with, whether or not they can help it or not. But with you two shining a light on it for, in the Cubs community and in the hockey community in general, it's a wonderful thing to see. But with that, Coach, thank you for joining us on this edition of The Roar. I'm Clay Thomas alongside Joshua Gerhardt. Find us on YouTube at Hershey Cubs The Roar, as well as at Hershey Cubs on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and TikTok, or Hershey Cubs on Facebook. Hit that like button, subscribe, and follow us on all accounts. Fear the Roar.